In my life, unfortunately, I've been deeply acquainted with grief. I've had most of my family die. My whole immediate family have died. And in that process, I've had to learn to disconnect from grief and sorrow and mourning and learn how to really plug into God's joy. You know, there's a very, very, very fine line between grief and sorrow and mourning and joy. And God made it that way because the things that have caused you grief and sorrow and mourning are the very things and the very times that God wanted to bless you and bring you joy. So this is something we're going to look at today. Hopefully I'll get through it today. If not, I'll continue it tomorrow. But the best way I can describe it is when something that causes us grief happens, we make trauma bonds and fear bonds to that thing, that place, that time, that person. And if you've ever noticed, sorrow and grief and mourning are addictive. You know, if you look at all the country songs, even just regular songs, I mean, it's about love and sadness and sorrow about love, and it is just, it's when you get into it, it is like it's like a drug going through your body. And I think it probably is like a drug in your body in reality. And then when you get into that place, it gives you license. You know, people call it a pity party. Well, it gives you then license to feel bad and overeat or have a glass of wine or do drugs or whatever it is you do, get angry. And, and that's the sinister part about it, is that it just sends you into this spiral. So I had a thing happen yesterday that is a really good example. Yesterday I woke up and, you know, I had a vague feeling that something was off, but, you know, not anything huge. And it took me about half the day till I realized that it was the anniversary of my brother's death. He had died 9 years ago yesterday. And I went, oh, that's what it is. Well, I have broken fear bonds and trauma bonds to that time and that death and the grief and everything. So I was like, okay, and we're going to do that. Well, in fact, we can just do it right now. So, Lord, right now, for everybody within the sound of my voice, I just ask that you would bring up in their minds, in their hearts, places, times, events, Lord, people, things that have caused them grief and mourning and sorrow, Lord. And I ask right now that, I just sever and break all fear bonds and all trauma bonds and all deep bonds to that grief and trauma and sorrow and mourning, Lord, and to those places and times and people and events that cause them. And Lord, I ask right now that in every way they would now connect to you, Lord, and connect to your joy. And Lord, I ask that you would break that those time patterns as well. And Lord, those are patterns that at those times when those things happen, especially if they've been reoccurring, or times when you want to bless them. So Lord, I ask that you would bring into them, Lord, the knowledge that when those times come around, it's the time you want to bless them and make them even more aware, Lord, to ask you into those times. In Jesus' name, amen. So to give you maybe I'll save that for tomorrow. So we'll just save that for breaking trauma bonds and fear bonds as things pass, and tomorrow I'll connect it to joy.